crash and burn.
Hey everybody. So tonight I want to discuss the 1984 horror movie. Might be obvious now, it's Children of the Corn, and the fact that you clicked on the thumbnail too. It is obvious because of the thumbnail that says that I'm doing a review of the 1984 film Children of the Corn. So that probably gave it away as well. It was probably really stunning how he came out of the corn, because see, I walk with he who walks behind the rose, because I am a disciple of whatever the hell it is that's getting the kids to kill everyone in Gatlin. This movie's awesome. I know this movie's far from perfect, okay, but this is the movie, next to the Terminator, this is the movie that like landed Linda Hamilton. Everybody remembers her, of course, as Sarah Connor in the Terminator franchise, naturally. But for me, and I think like a billion other people, we automatically, in the same breath, think of Linda Hamilton in this. Now, like I said, this movie I'm not sure if I said it. This movie is far from perfect, but that sense of isolation, the religious indifference that the kids have towards Linda Hamilton and her boyfriend's well-being. What the hell are their names in this? Vicky and Bert. Jesus, Adam. I wrote it down and everything, but you'd think, considering that I've seen this movie a trillion times since I was a little kid, you'd think I know that the two principals are Vicky and Bert. And Malachi is the main enforcer asshole. And then Isaac is the prophetic kid that he who walks behind the rose is sort of using Isaac as a conduit of sorts. But I'm not really sure about that, because I'm not really sure if Isaac's just using the he who walks behind the rose thing in order to assert his power and his dominance even more. Because I know that he who walks behind the rose is very real. But I always wondered if Isaac was manipulating the kids further just sort of for his own power-hungry needs, to satiate his ego's need for dominance. I always wondered that too. Malachi was a great enforcer when he's like, "Outlander, we have your woman." It's so like, "So we have your woman." I fucking love that. I did think it was really cruel though when they killed the old dude's dog, the mechanic, who tries to steer people away from Gatlin because of the massacre. And I also loved that. I loved how the movie starts off, it looks very normal. Gatlin's a normal place, got kids and parents, and then all the kids just go off and wipe out all the adults. And even though I do agree with the you shouldn't trust anybody under 30 thing, I don't know if killing yourself when you turn, I think it was 19, I'm not sure if you're old enough to die at 19, to be perfectly honest. I think that might be pushing it some. I thought the corn art was creepy as hell. I remember I tried to make some. I had this old picture of Jesus that I stole from St. Isaac's, and I was trying to, I had some like craft corn, like that type of shit grandparents have, and I tried to like cut the picture of Jesus to put it in. Somehow I cut my finger really badly. Fuck, it bled like a son of a bitch. And I took that as a sign that A, I probably shouldn't have stolen the picture of Jesus from the church, and B, that cutting myself was the penance, and C, I probably was too young to be fucking around with knives and shit. I was like 10 or 11 at that point. I just moved to Pickering, trying to make this scary cult art. So I took it, like I said, as a sign from above, from he who walks behind the rose, not to mimic that shit, potentially. But yeah, I did try to make some creepy corn art with a picture of Jesus, and it crashed and burned, motherfucker. It was so bad. I also loved how even the wind sort of had this sinister sense about it, like everything that was going on here was completely evil. When the wind blew in these parts, it was because, 100%, because of he who walks behind the rose. And the rose, they feel sinister. Like it feels like you're gonna get lost in here and you're never really gonna find your way out. And I totally bought into that. Because I mean, if you look at the corn rows here, this just goes on forever. And fortunately enough, I was smart enough not to go too deep in, because this shit all looks the fucking same. Like no matter where I go, no matter where I look, I kind of feel that same sense of isolation that Bert and Vicky must have felt, because this is kind of off-putting being in here. Now again, like I said, fortunately I didn't go too deep, but I'm totally immersed in the atmosphere of the film now. Whoa, this is so fucking deep. I think my favorite things about this movie had to be that endless, cut-off sense of isolation. I loved how He Who Walked Behind the Rose was very real. It wasn't just a group of kids who went mad and just slaughtered the town because of, you know, what Isaac told them to do. There is this ultimate evil that is in the cornrows that is sort of projecting its insanity and craziness out onto these kids, and these kids are following all of its orders. I loved that. I love the effects too, despite the fact that this movie came out in 1984, when Isaac is being taken over at the end. It's dated, definitely dated, but it still works too. I believed it, and it's aged as well as something like this can. It still looks intimidating. It's fun. It has that sort of like Nightmares vibe, like the Bishop of Battle with Emilio Estevez, for anybody that's seen the movie Nightmares. It has that same sort of early 1980s Tron effect, of course, to the effects, which I absolutely loved. I loved the performances. The isolation was my absolute favorite thing. I loved the art. I loved how the kids had to kill themselves before they became adults. I liked how the little girl was psychic. And I love how, on one hand, how formulaic this movie is, but then that's what something I always found to be really comforting about this movie, that this is sort of like one of those perfect Saturday afternoon horror movies. I loved that as well. And I loved how I wasn't able to make any creepy corn art. It's getting dark. So I'm gonna cut it there. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for a bunch of minutes while I discussed the absolutely awesome 1984 movie, Children of the Corn. Like always, if you like this review, don't forget to do something nice for somebody. But like always, most importantly, please don't forget that the world is actually a better place because you are in it. It's getting dark, and I gotta low-key hike out of here now because I decided to do this final part a few more rows in because of how that looked. Have a good night.